everybody. Welcome back to Q-Tips. We are the Video Store Junkies, and we are back once again to bring you a few selections to watch over the weekend on streaming. And we're going to get right into this, and I'm going to send this over to Paul.
Oh, why, thank you, Renee. So my theme this week is films that have a perfect companion film, but I can't recommend them because they're not streaming anywhere. And so my first film up is Hamburger, the motion picture from 1986, playing on YouTube because that's the only place you're going to find it. Okay, this is a trashy, lowbrow, um, basically police academy type ripoff. So Russell has been expelled from multiple colleges for basically being oversexed, and he has to graduate from college by like that spring. Otherwise, he doesn't get his inheritance. So he finds out that Hamburger University. Well, it's not Hamburger University. I think it's like uh, what's it called? Vunk University or something. It's Buster Burger University. That's it. Is he can go and graduate from there, and it's basically like the version of McDonald's University. It's for people who are going to run Buster Burger franchises, and it's got the Russell is played by Leah McCloskey, who you may know from Argento's Inferno, but otherwise he's been in like basically a lot of 80s sitcom one-off roles. It has Dit Butkus in it as the essentially drill sergeant. Randy Brooks, who as the trophy wife of the head of the Buster Burger, and Randy Brooks, you would recognize her. She is known for playing basically big titty dumb blondes, but she does them really well. Charles Tyner plays Lyman Funk, who's the head of the thing. You would recognize again these one of these character actors you'd recognize. It's got the great Chuck McCann, who I have a affection for because he was in Far Out Space Nuts. It is trashy. It is racist. It is sexist. It is lowbrow, but it is actually also really funny at times. I mean, I'm sorry. This is one of those. I guess you'd call it a guilty pleasure. So it's Hamburger the motion picture, and so what's its companion piece that I can't recommend because it's not showing. And actually, I haven't seen this one either, which is Hot Dog the movie. So Hamburger the motion picture was directed by Mike Marvin in 1986, but in 1983, Mike Marvin wrote Hot Dog the movie, which was a skiing sex comedy starring David Naughton. So yeah, it's but I can't recommend it because I haven't actually ever seen it. It's not streaming anywhere. So that's the companion piece. But Hamburger the motion picture playing on YouTube. And speaking of hamburgers and 80s sex comedy things, there's not a whole lot of sex in there's just a little bit. I'll pass this to Bill.
Why, thank you, Paul. Well, my theme for today is English movies from 1973, 50 years old. You know, when I'm not perusing Amazon.com, seeing how my recently published book Raum is doing, and since you asked, it's gone from being number 2,100,000 in books all the way to 158,000. I'm no math whiz, but at that momentum, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a best-selling New York Times writer by mid next week. But now I'm not doing that, making cheap plugs. I love to watch old British movies from the 70s. So these movies are 50 years old, which means I am even older because I remember the ad for this one. It's The Creeping Flesh, which is a great title.
Oh, yeah.
But check out this chestnut of a plot. Peter Cushing, yay! Peter Cushing is an archaeologist who digs up a skeleton, some weird creature that is simultaneously really, really old and advanced. So there's that. And he takes it back. His brother is Christopher Lee. I don't know if they've ever played siblings before. And he runs an insane asylum where Peter Cushing's wife recently died. And there's all kinds of family drama there. But who cares? Because it turns out that if you get the skeleton wet, it starts growing flesh. Yeah. And Peter Cushing, who is a master of saying absolute claptrap and making it sound convincing, he is firing on all cylinders for this movie because yeah. So apparently this is some sort of ancient, almost Lovecraftian elder gods or something that cause all kinds of trouble. And somehow he gets it in his idea that this is like a personification of evil. And if you've got an evil skeleton that when it gets wet turns into evil, creepy flesh, you do the obvious thing, which is say, wow, if I could take some, if I could maybe cut off a finger and get it wet and have a, finger there of flesh, I could put it into a hypodermic needle and inject it into my daughter, which will inoculate her against the evil that apparently consumed her mother. I don't think I'm giving anything away here when I tell you things go wrong. But it's kind of hard to imagine how things couldn't go wrong with an idea that bad. I love Peter Cushing, but really, wow. And then Christopher Lee steals the skeleton for some reason, and they go taking it away on a rickety horse-drawn carriage on a rainy night. Do you know where this is going? So Fleshy Mick Flesherson shows up and steals a finger back, and then it's got a really ambiguous ending, like it was all a dream, or was it? I don't know, probably, but maybe not. Yeah, so 1973 is just the year where everything changed. You're still getting gothic horrors like The Creeping Flesh, though they're getting a little long in the tooth, and you can see the production values have gone down, but they're still great stuff. But by the end of the year, come December, The Exorcist comes out, and that was the nail in the coffin. Everything changed. 73 is a fascinating year. Everything from terrible dreck like God Monster of Indian Flats and Blackenstein to interesting, cool things like Creeping Flesh and Psychomania, things that have still kind of a cult film, to Exorcist, which was just, arguably Exorcist and Night of the Living Dead a few years earlier, the birth of modern horror and the death of the old, the silver age of horror films. Well, this is on, hold on, let me check here. Creeping Flesh is one of those ones that tends to show up on a lot of stuff. It's on Prime. Directed by Freddie Francis, who was a better cinematographer than director, but he wasn't bad as a director either, and certainly it looks good. So Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, can't go wrong there, and I will send this over to someone who never makes anyone's flesh creep, and that would be Renee.
Well, thank you very much. My first recommendation is a thought-provoking and suspenseful thriller. It is The Arbors. So it's a very interesting movie. It's very atmospheric, I would say. It's kind of a slow burn, but it really is a bit suspenseful if you kind of get caught up in the story. Not perfect, but it was really not bad. So, yeah, it was kind of a mind bender type movie. Gave you a lot to really kind of think about and reflect on after you get done watching it, and very mysterious, bit of a whodunit situation. So yeah, that's my first recommendation. It is called The Arbors, and you can watch that on Amazon Prime, Paramount Plus, and Tubi, and a few other places. And I will pass this over to Zach.
Thank you so much, Renee. If there's one thing people know about me, I think it's that they know I love to laugh. I love a good laugh. Exactly. And if they know if they know two things about me, they know that I absolutely hate sitcoms because most sitcoms do not make me laugh. They do the opposite. They make me just angry at the insulting thought that such pedestrian writing is supposed to make me laugh. However, I'm going to talk about a sitcom today that most people are probably familiar with, but maybe you haven't actually sat down and watched an episode in a while, or maybe you're familiar with it but you've never actually seen it. Maybe now's a good chance. Let me just reel off four names here, and I think these are probably some of the four greatest names in comedy, possibly ever. I got Rue McClanahan, I got Estelle Getty, I got B. Arthur, and of course, I have the nearly immortal Betty White. Yes, that's right. I'm talking about the classic TV show, The Golden Palace. No, I'm just kidding. I'm talking about The Golden Girls. This is a show, okay, yeah, I hate sitcoms, especially like 80s sitcoms. I hate anything with a laugh track. This is one of those shows that whenever it's on, I can't help but stop. I can't help but stop myself from laughing. It's I don't know. It's legitimately funny. Obviously these four women, just comedic geniuses. Lots of other like guest stars and reappearing roles on the show, but they're obviously the core of the show. And they're just so good. I mean, this is not a show. This is also I should mention, like, this is a show that for a long time I was definitely aware of its existence, but it was not until I was well into adulthood that I actually like sat down and watched the episode, and I was just blown away by how funny it was. So that is my first recommendation. That's right, I'm recommending The Golden Girls. You've got seven seasons of laughter, and it's all on Hulu right now. You can go watch it. You can go enjoy it. Yeah, it's just a good time. And speaking of good times, I'm going to pass it over to a man who knows all about having a good time in his golden years. Paul, what's your second pick this week?
See, I thought you were going to say, speaking of old short Sicilians. That's a...
that too! Hey. That too. There you
go. Too. Well, my second pick this week is, again, one that has a perfect pairing that is not available. And this is Fosse Verdon, playing on HBO, on Hulu, playing on Hulu. It's an 8-part miniseries about Bob Fosse and I was going to say Jackie Vernon. Sorry,
that would be a great documentary.
Fosse Vernon. It's Fosse Verdon because it's Bob Fosse and Gwen Verdon, and it's based on the book Fosse by Stephen Levinson, but the creators, Thomas Kail, who's the creator, after reading the book, realized, well, this is as much Gwen Verdon's story as it is Bob Fosse. They definitely had a interesting relationship, and as their daughter said, if you take out the marital infidelity, they were the two most devoted people you'll ever meet. And Sam Rockwell plays Bob Fosse, and Michelle Williams plays Gwen Verdon.
Oh, wow.
And she does, especially, yeah. She kind of gets the voice pretty well. And it follows primarily that portion of their relationship, so from the 60s through the 80s. And it's interesting because it does have, and I know we have some of our group here are not fans of musicals, but it does have some musical segments and even some like surreal little bits that are kind of intentionally stagey, but it's used to kind of illustrate what's going on, and they're fairly short and truncated representations of of either the music from musicals that they did together or dance routines. So it's even if you have a low tolerance for musicals, it's really well worth watching. I highly recommend it. Not exactly a happy story, I mean, but really an interesting one. And I really recommend, if you can, which it's not streaming anywhere, watching All That Jazz, which was Bob Fosse's basically version of his own story. And in it, he has Roy Scheider playing Joe Gideon, who is a not very thinly disguised version of him. And what's really interesting is his lover / girlfriend in the movie. It is played by Anne Rankin, who was actually Bob Fosse's real life lover and girlfriend prior to doing All the Jazz. I think they had broken up, and he actually made her audition for basically her own role in the movie. And it is it is absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of music in that, and some amazing dance numbers, but it's essentially an autobiography of Bob Fosse. He even choreographs his own death, and it is the most the ending sequence of that movie is absolutely amazing. It will blow you away. It is fantastic. Fosse Verdon goes to his actual death, so he didn't have a chance to choreograph that. But let me tell you, the circumstances of his death were it played in very nicely for the story. I mean, it's like no spoilers, I guess, but he basically, since he's been dead a long time, he and Gwen Verdon were doing a revival of their show, Sweet Charity, and they were taking it on the road, and it was opening night in DC, and they're walking together from the hotel to opening night at the theater, and he collapses and dies in her arms of a massive
Wow.
heart attack in real life. Yeah, and again, Fosse Verdon it's really fascinating. Eight episodes, really well done. And actually, in that, much like Gwen Verdon and Bob Fosse met on a production, Michelle Williams and Thomas Kail, who's the creator, met and got together on this production. So time will tell whether he will die in Michelle Williams' arms or not, but I don't know. So again, that's Fosse Verdon. It was originally on FX. Now it's on Hulu. And speaking of dying in my arms, I pass this to Bill.
Ooh, wow. Boy, I second everything, and I'm not a big dance musical fan and everything, but Fosse was one of those rare geniuses that only comes around once in a long time. And Gwen Verdon was the absolute perfect muse to fill in that role. I mean, they're both so good, and I wish they'd been able to do more. And I loved all that jazz. I absolutely love that film. The woman who plays the thinly disguised Gwen Verdon character is Leland Palmer, who did almost nothing else, and yet she's fantastic in it, as is everyone in that film. Just a good stuff.
I had to do a double take when I saw that name.
Which one?
Leland
Yeah.
Palmer.
I know.
Yeah.
If you're a Twin Peaks fan,
I know how.
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
I have no idea what that's all about. So, I just got back from RavenCon over the weekend, which was a big success, and we had the launch party of my book Raum, available at Amazon.com. And I bring that up.
Hey, Bill,
Yeah?
how do you spell that?
Oh, that's spelled
R-A-
RAUM.
RAUM, and you can find that on
You can
Amazon.
find that at Amazon.com, which I am led to believe is a large warehouse full of books, including my book, Raum, RAUM. Or you could just do a search for Bill Mulligan, and from the many book that you will see listed under my name, you can choose Raum, and that would probably be the wise one to do. And I just bring this up because, of course, I do. Anyway, absolutely apropos of nothing. No, we did a panel there on 50 years, movies from 50 years ago, and that's where we got The Creeping Flesh. And this next one, which is kind of obscure, although I know Paul's going to be like, yes! And I was a little surprised that he had already listed, because this just seems like a one of those films that either Paul or Bill are jumping at the thing to be the first one to say. And it's The Asphyx.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh my God. Yes.
See?
I mean, I haven't recommended that one yet.
I looked through our list.
Oh wow.
And there's nothing. And you're like, The Asphyx? What kind of gay ass movie is that? No.
I'll shut up and I'll let you.
Yes,
I'll let you.
It's like asphyxiation. So this is a low budget British horror movie. And when you say low budget American horror movie, it basically looks like it was filmed on a camcorder, and it's got that punk rock vibe. I mean, it's really cheap looking. And British films, when they're low budget, it's like running into someone who's still dressed in a suit and tie, but it's a little shabby. There's some patches. It's kind of worn on it. It's showing its cheapness, but they're still putting on. They got the stiff upper lip. They're putting on a good show. This is the quintessential movie whose reach exceeds its grasp by a lot. This is like a guy who has hooks for hands, but he's going to climb Everest. It's not going to end well, and it doesn't. But what an idea for a movie. So this is in Victorian England. These guys sort of futzing around with things they shouldn't mess with, discover that at the point of death, there is a spirit, an asphyx, if you will, who comes and takes your soul. And if you catch this little bugger, you're immortal, because everyone's got their own asphyx. And if you can catch yours and stick him in a bottle and throw it in a safe or something, nothing that happens to you is going to kill you. But you got to catch him, and you got to put out a trap for him. And what's the trap for a spirit that comes when you're about to die? It's to make it so that you're about to die. You've got to set up a thing that you are really close to dying, but you got some out, and then when your asphyx shows up, they catch it with a couple of lights. Now, here's the problem. This is such a cool concept. The asphyx is is a hand puppet. And I mean,
Well, I would say it's more of a rod puppet, Bill.
it's a disaster. Kermit the Frog would be more
Yes.
scary than the Asphyx that shows up. So this is one of those movies where like, hey guys, we're gonna remake, whatever. We're gonna do another Spider-Man origin movie. It's like, oh good, it's been 2 years. Why are they not remaking this? Because here's a movie that really could stand being remade with some better special effects, or any special effects, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But oh god, take that aside, put it away. Just accept the fact they didn't have 2 dimes to rub together. This is such a great movie, and yes, it is one of those movies where you have scientists who are simultaneously brilliant and complete idiots. So like if I got to design a way that I have to go to the brink of death but not actually die, one of the words that will never cross my lips is guillotine. Because I don't need a big imagination to imagine how that could go wrong. In fact, I need a bigger imagination to imagine how it could possibly go right. And indeed, it does not. So you can see where this goes. And by the time this movie is over, you'll start wondering, did the folks who saw Death Becomes Her watch this movie over and over and over again? Because there's some startling similarities there. But it's directed by Peter Newbrook, who did not direct very many movies, but he was a camera operator on Lawrence of Arabia and The Bridge Over the River Kwai. And also, I guess he learned a few tricks, although certainly not how to make an Asphyx that doesn't make you want to giggle out loud. This one also shows up on just about here's 500 movies for $1 DVD. So I'm guessing it's fallen into the public domain, which could mean that we could make a remake of the Asphyx.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's worth looking into. Because you could do this on a budget of nothing, because they sure did. Anyway, I highly recommend it. It is. It also sometimes goes as Spirit of the Dead or The Horror of Death, which are Spirit of the Dead is not a bad title. The Horror of Death is just like something a manatee would have come up with, just randomly punching buttons. What is it on? Where is it? Oh darn! Oh, it's on Canopy. It's on Canopy if you can't find it on the public domain. I'm willing to bet. In fact, I'm almost 100% sure. In fact, I am 100% sure because I did it earlier today. You can also find the whole dang movie on YouTube in a fairly decent copy. So there's the Asphyx, and I throw this over to the lovely and ageless Renee.
Well, thank you very much. When Zach started talking about TV shows, I got a little nervous that we were going to have the same recommendation. We did not. But it's really honestly pretty darn close. This show is about family and identity and humanity. And it also happens to be a very cool supernatural show with a lot of horror elements, much like The Golden Girls. Yes. This show is Hemlock Grove. I was waiting just in case Paul wanted to yell.
I was sitting back from the microphone, so it's a belated yes.
Yay!
Is
Okay.
good?
Yeah, I like it. So these characters, I should say the actors, it has a baby Bill Skarsgård in it, and he was just really good. I think it was the first time I ever saw him in anything, and it was very impressive. Has a great cast. I can't think of any other people off the top of my head, but the one lady I'm seeing in my mind.
Isn't Famke Janssen in it?
It does, yes. If only I had a production assistant that could look that up for me.
I believe you're talking about Lily Taylor.
Oh,
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Lily Taylor. Thank you so much. So everybody, pretty great cast. Everybody has pretty good chemistry. It's a fun story. It's I remember really enjoying it. I've only watched a couple of episodes recently, but it pulled me in just as much as it did the first time I watched it. So yeah, that's my recommendation. It is Hemlock Grove, and impressively, you can watch that on Tubi.
Ooh.
And I'll pass this over to Zach.
Thank you, Renee. So you know what? I think we're gonna stick with the comedy genre this weekend because sometimes you just got to sit back and laugh. You just got to take a whole weekend and enjoy yourself. And unlike the Golden Girls, which as hilarious and trend-setting as it is definitely an 80s sitcom. So we're going to fast forward a little bit to the weird, wild world of the 2000s And I'm actually going to recommend this is a kind of a collection. It's not really a series, but they're kind of all under an umbrella because they all kind of aired. I don't even I don't know if they were all produced by the same people or what, but they all aired on Adult Swim over a certain period of time. And well, they're on HBO Max. They're just called infomercials. So if you just look for infomercials on HBO Max, you'll find them. Like I said, they're very loosely connected, but this is where the infamous Too Many Cooks and unedited footage of a bear aired. And I gotta say, if you're the like 3 people out there who haven't seen Too Many Cooks, don't start with that one because that will pretty much ruin everything else for you. But they're all pretty hilarious. You got the first episode is Broom Shakalaka, which features Randall Park. It's got it's it's basically a new invention called the Broom Shakalaka.
You do love to laugh, don't you?
I do. I'm just thinking back to it, and yeah, it's cracking me up. But yeah, you actually got a lot of great kind of like little cameos. Lots of actors, familiar actors. Jerry O'Connell shows up in one, and hey, speaking of Leland Palmer, Ray Wise himself shows up in one of these. So it's a great little series. Like I said, very very tentatively connected. Again, I don't even know if it was the same people producing them all, but they're all kind of thrown under the umbrella of infomercials. So they're on HBO Max. Just look up Adult Swim infomercials. You'll find them. It's a weird, wild romp and lots of very stupid comedy. But sometimes that's the best kind of comedy. So, and I think that's it. I think I'm wrapping it up. I don't know if I've ever wrapped this show up before. I don't know what to do. Oh my God, I'm sweating over
brought
here.
it to a screaming
Ask
halt.
if anybody's going to sing us out.
Do I start to sing? Okay.
You're welcome to if you want. I mean,
all right, we're gonna go out with a fan favorite. Thank you for being a friend. No remix. Golden Girls. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna sing. I'm gonna let Paul sing because I know that he recommended a musical just so he could sing us out.
That's true. I mean, there are so many songs from Fosse Verdon. Though actually, I was tempted to do Too Many Cooks after you mentioned it. But there's so many songs from Fosse Verdon. So of course, that's why I'm going to do the theme from Hamburger the Motion Picture, "Hamburgers for America" by Blue Miller. On almost any corner of almost every town, in every lovely highway you'll ever travel down, you're gonna find a burger shop, Americana mom and pop. How long there ain't no telling that they've been out there selling hamburgers for America.
For the weekend of April 28th, Zachary recommended Adult Swim infomercials, available on HBO Max, and The Golden Girls, available on Hulu. Paul recommended Hamburger, the motion picture, available on YouTube, and Fosse Verdon, available on Hulu. I recommended Hemlock Grove, available on Hoopla, and The Arbors, available on Amazon Prime, Tubi, Paramount Plus, and Fubo. Bill recommended The Ass Fix, available on Canopy, and The Creeping Flesh, available on Amazon Prime and the Roku channel.
By the way, I've looked it up for people who don't like to who don't know how to use search engines. If you want to find Bill's book, I'm going to give you the direct URL that you can go buy it. Just go to https://www.amazon.com/rom-bill-b0c1j3pq64 / That'll get you right there.
Yeah,
I hope that helps you, Bill.
that is so intuitive.
I hope that gets you a couple of extra sales.
Right, yeah. For the Rain Man audience out there that could actually remember what you say. That is funny.
Oh.